This is part 11 of our 100% walkthrough for Link to the Past, and in this part we're going to be conquering the first dungeon of the Dark World, which appropriately enough is the Palace of Darkness.
And like we said in the last part, kind of one of our least favorite dungeons.
It's pretty low on the list.
It actually ranks on a listing that kind of goes at that, like the worst dungeons in the Zelda series, but like right off the bat, and one thing, I'm going to kind of spoil one of our videos. The top 8 worst Zelda dungeon. This dungeon actually made that listing.
Yep.
And one thing that always bothers me is like people always get honest about, like you guys complain about the walls and the colors of the wall.
Yeah.
And here's a good example right here. One reason we don't like this dungeon is because it's like basically gray on gray.
It really
and there's
is.
no color to the dungeon whatsoever.
It's just something bland. Anytime there's something bland, we're not a fan of. Like most Zelda games are colorful, bright. Sometimes you get those dungeons though, like this, like the Earth Temple from Wind Waker.
Yes.
It's just and the Palace of Twilight, things like that. It's just they're very dull looking. I do kind of like the detail on the stone walls a little bit.
Yeah, that is nice.
It looks cool, but just like you said, the gray on gray just doesn't do much for me.
Well, a lot of people come at us. I guess we're complaining about people's comments on our video. But, people come at us and go, well, that's what you should expect. Yes, that's what we do expect for this dungeon, but it still doesn't mean we have to like it. But anyways, we'll get back to the dungeon and just... I mean, there's other things.
There's no reason to.
Yeah, I guess for me, like, it's not really a long dungeon, but it always felt longer than the other dungeons in the Dark World.
Well, I feel like it has a little more, like, backtracking and circling about. We'll spend a lot of time in, like, the same couple rooms several times, and it's just...
Yes,
it's a little less linear than...
Well, that's never really bothered me, as long as it's not too confusing, and I don't think this dungeon really is, although there's some parts you can, like, jump down and kind of get confused on, but I expect that with the first dungeon in the Dark World to be a little bit tougher than the other ones we've had in the game.
That was not your best bomb throw.
Well, the bar got in the way right there. So, it's one of those things. In practice, it went fine, and then I thought I could get there. Like, I saw the Bari. The one thing is, it wasn't necessary.
It really
I didn't have to do it, but I saw the Bari. I thought I could reach it. You know what? I didn't. Much like high school, the pass ended up short. So
I wasn't going to go there, but you did it for me. So, well, it's kind of nice how I think a lot of the dungeons in this game have like a fairy room, like what we just saw. I feel like they do. Anyway.
The Dark World ones do.
The Dark World ones,
I guess actually Tower of Hera I know had one. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. They might almost all have one.
We'll think about it as we go through.
Yeah, well, I couldn't remember the Desert Palace had one. For some reason, I want to say it might have. We just didn't go to it. I don't believe the Eastern Palace had one, but I'm not like 100% positive on that either.
If you need one on the Eastern Palace, then, well, never mind. Not everyone's a good Zelda player, so I shouldn't say that.
Now, we kind of talked about one of our first videos, tile boxes. Sometimes we're going to go to them. Sometimes we're not going to go to them and see what they say. Yeah. Right there, I think I just literally did not see the tile box, or I completely forgot about it and just walked right past it because that one was obviously in our way.
It really was.
I just dropped the bomb while walking, by the way.
Hey, why not? Why not?
I mean, that's really mature, but I thought it was funny when I was watching this today. So
now, one thing I did like about this, it's fine. It's fine. One of the few things I
actually humor.
Hey, that's what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the few things I did like about this dungeon is how, like, the first couple rooms really mirrored the Eastern Palace from the Light World. Like, you had like the same like 3 pathways you could take right off the bat. And just obviously once you get past the first couple rooms, that changes. But I just thought it was a nice parallel. It's like, oh, this is gonna be similar to the Eastern Palace. And then, nope, it isn't.
Oh, one thing we forgot to mention actually in the last part is how the outside of this dungeon looks dead up like the one in A Link Between Worlds.
Yes, I like that.
A lot of dungeons in A Link Between Worlds look similar to this game, but I thought that one was almost dead up look-alike. But anyway, I agree. Also, I don't know if you did see it because you watched the video, but
if you're paying attention,
when we jumped up that area right there, like maybe one of the reasons why Link is a chosen hero just because he simply has good knees.
Oh,
so like to land that jump right there and not hurt your knees at all. I mean, that's just amazing right there.
All throughout the series, Link takes some pretty nasty falls. He does. Let's be honest, he takes some nasty falls all throughout the series.
Zelda logic, Zelda physics. It doesn't need to make sense all the time.
Hey, you know what? But apparently he's, like you said, he's got the knees for it because we haven't seen him on the injured reserve list yet. So.
Now, I know one thing you kind of mentioned before we started. One reason why you don't like this dungeon, one of the many, is
several.
like the enemies in this dungeon.
They're all annoying.
We're a fan of, and they weren't exactly hard. Like you said, they're annoying.
Yeah.
Like they have, like, that one, the Helmasaur right there has that little shield. on, and the terrapins have the shells, like
the hard hat beetles that bounce you back when you hit them.
They are a little bit harder, and that's not a reason. You know what? Yes, it is. They're a little bit harder. They're a little bit annoying, and we don't like them.
Well, especially like the hard hat beetles really get me because, of course, they put them in rooms where you don't have a railing or something. You got a narrow walkway, and you hit them and you bounce right off.
That's the best time right there. Really, I try. There's certain enemies and like those I try to avoid as much as I can.
Yeah.
Like especially in this game. This game is a little bit harder game when it comes to the enemies and just you really don't have as much space as you do in more of the 3D games. So when I get something like a hard hat beetle, as you'll see here, I actually use a good strategy coming up in a little while.
I'll give you credit.
But if I can't use a strategy like that from a distance, like I just try to outmaneuver them.
Yep. Now I was not a huge fan of the magic hammer. For one thing, and you brought this up, what the heck is magical about it?
Nothing at all.
I have no idea what's magical about this hammer. And two, it's just compared to the Megaton hammer from Ocarina of Time and the Skull hammer from Wind Waker, it just looks so pathetic.
And the range on it is awful. Now,
it's
yes,
terrible.
I know it's a 16-bit game, and like it's not going to have a great range or look like completely awesome or anything like that.
Yeah.
But once again, why does it have magic in the title?
Yeah.
Like, what exactly? Usually when an item has magic, like the magic mirror, we see the magic in that.
Yeah.
Like you look into this thing, you go into another world.
Yeah, that's pretty magical.
Numerous mornings, I wish I had a mirror like that. I mean, that would be awesome, but I kind of wish I had a magic hammer too, just to get stuff done around the house. But
well, this hammer doesn't do much for us.
I just wish, like, I didn't really read the description, but I don't think it said, like, in particular what kind of magic it possessed.
I don't think so either. It just, even the sound it makes when you swing it, it just sounds so weak.
It really does,
And honestly, outside of this dungeon, we rarely use it.
We need to use it actually to get to some points in the map.
We do, actually. Good point.
And that is one thing it actually is good for, is like we actually need to go into the next part of the game. Yep. And then it also allows us to get to some areas and also get some items that we begin in the next part that we couldn't get to until we got that item. So it is kind of actually useful out in the overworld.
And that's something like we've brought up with like the Titan's Mitt or Power Glove or whatever it's called in this game. And also with the hook shot, you know, anything that opens up a little more of the world is a good thing in our book.
Yeah, now here's the strategy I was talking about. Like this one, like it's a little bit hard to get your distance because you don't really have much room to work with, but if you can use that strategy right there, and I believe they always come towards you, I would highly recommend that because those things are a pain, especially with that bumper right there in the middle. I absolutely hate that room. Because
all you're going to do is jump off that ledge and just get knocked right into the pit by those guys. So using the bomb to clear them all out, because like you said, they're just going to stand there until you move somewhere else because they follow you around. So very good strategy. I thought it was a good. I don't like giving you credit, but
thanks. I'm glad you kept on going because I was trying to sit over here thinking about what to talk about next.
There's not much.
Then we actually hit this room, and I hate those enemies. Even though I made it look easy right there. We're talking about all the enemies we hate. Those that's just like a not an accuracy thing so much, but just it's not that hard. But it's just one of those things like if you miss about a little bit, you're like, oh come on.
Well, I feel like the first time we recorded this, we struggled hitting one of those guys because we kept trying to run him into it. And it
I don't think about the past, especially when we're doing this channel. I don't think about the past, but actually, I had to make an edit at that part because it was so bad. So you are correct. I did struggle on that the first time, but now we practice before we do our recording.
We know we're doing it.
It's a little bit easier, and here we go. Actually, is this the first dark room we've entered?
No, there was one or two previous ones. One of them was a maze, which I know we mentioned we hated.
Shows how much I was paying attention to the actual video right there.
Well, there's it's similar to when we were in Hyrule Castle and we hit that dark room that was a maze, and we're like, okay, I already can't see where I'm going. You know, now you got to make a maze out of it. And so in these dark rooms, obviously,
in this room I hate it because for the longest time I didn't know you could actually use the sword on the terrapins. I thought you had to hit them twice with your hammer.
Which you do.
And you enter this room with that many terrapins, no light, which you can get light. And then you try to use the hammer with that limited range. I've died in that room numerous times, but use a sword. The sword is a lot easier. Plus, and it's got some range. It's got some range, too.
I feel like that's one of those rooms where it's like you walk in and you see two torches that need to be lit, so you light them and avoid the enemies, then realize, oh crap, that didn't actually open the door.
Dude, that's the crazy thing. These turtles, okay, first of all, those are fast turtles.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, they move quickly, but just like, they're not that fast, though. Overall, compared to the other enemies in the game, they're not that fast, but man, they get you somehow.
They do. But I do like how, in the entrance leading up to the Helmasaur King, that they have 4 Helmasaur's charges on that moving platform.
Sorry about it, everybody. If you heard that, apparently my phone is transferring to my iPad, which I didn't even know it did that. So if you heard a phone ring, that was actually my iPad going off.
We try to avoid that if we can.
Yeah, that's the first time it's actually ever happened. But right here, you see, Yes, you can use the hammer. I don't know exactly what you said to start.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
Don't worry.
But like, I think the bombs. Okay, they're quicker.
Yeah.
You can get them like quicker with the bombs, but as you're seeing, it's really hard to like judge that throw and the distance behind that throw.
Plus, I feel like you bounced a couple off his mask and hit yourself.
There's been more than a couple, but like the thing you said, like with the hammer, limited range, it's also very easy to like use that hammer and get to him and get hit by him, which I believe that takes more hearts than getting hit by bombs. So that was my whole strategy behind this boss fight.
Now, I will say though, for being like the first boss in the Dark World, I do think the Helmasaur King looks awesome. Just like that huge body, that helmet, and then like those glowing eyes and that tail whip that does a ton of damage when he hits you. I think he does 2 full hearts when he hits you. That's the thing.
Like I said, it's just a cool looking boss, a great one for the first Dark World. I love the little spikes they put in the blade traps, like. Or actually, those called trap. I think
they're blade traps or spike traps.
Yeah, whatever they're called. But hey, I went ham on that second phase there. Like I struggled in the first phase a little bit, but in the second phase, I went off just a tad bit. So
see, I think I still prefer to use the hammer, even though, like you said, it's got the limited range. You run the risk of him hitting you, but I'm impatient. You know me.
Like that's the first time I actually used the bombs and the arrows in this boss fight.
Yep.
Like I didn't use the arrows because he just moved too fast. I can never get a good shot on. But you know, this time I tried it, got a couple good arrow shots on him, and it made it a lot easier. And I always like when you can stay a little bit of distance between you and the boss.
Now I
seem not to die as easily.
Now I've always liked whenever you free one of the maidens, how they play like the Zelda's Lullaby song, and it, like this game of course introduced it to the series, and it's been in the series ever since. So even though obviously this isn't Zelda, it's still nice to like hear that Zelda's Lullaby every time we rescue a maiden.
I like that we get a story for each one too, like you know, a little more of the backstory, which we hadn't really gotten to this game up in this franchise except for the manual.
Exactly.
Before this, so each one will give us a little story, like just adds to the game a little more.
And now that we've beat the Palace of Darkness, this
thank God.
Thank God, yeah. This will wrap up part 11 of Link to the Past.